Crockwell. Next.
Minister, I want to start by congratulating you being a man of your word. You said you'd deliver within a period of time, and I think you were probably a week late or maybe a fortnight getting it out. So I want to congratulate you on that. I want to also welcome what you've said about putting a review in place. It's about time somebody actually had the guts to stand up and say we need to look at the work of our local representatives. Because let's reflect historically on what our councillors are. They're the foot soldiers for the political system in Ireland. They're the people who will go out on a rainy night when there's an election called, and they will walk the length and breadth of the country to get those of us who are elected to this House elected one way or the other. What reward have we given them down through the years for this? Very little. What recognition have we given them? Very little. As my colleague said a few moments ago, your local councillor is the first point of call for members of their society, members of their community. One councillor told me I can't go to the toilet, but some fellow will come in and stand beside me and talk to me about a planning issue or a medical card or a bus pass or a septic tank, you name it. Nobody else in politics suffers the same level of exposure to their community as county councillors do. For they're in their community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Naturally, in the course of the election for the Seanads, I met councillors. And I met councillors who sit into their cars and drive to people's homes to help them with official documentation. They sit in people's houses late at night, filling in forms, helping people, because they understand the system. There's nothing sharp about the practice. What they're doing is they're doing what they were elected to do. Minister, the one thing I can't understand about this country is why is it we always take the mean approach? Why is it that we cannot stand up and clap these people on the back, recognise them for what they are? Don't be ashamed of telling the public we are going to pay these people a decent wage. What is the problem about that? This is not you, Minister. I know you're a decent guy out there trying to do a decent job. I'll get around to lashing you in a few minutes. But the truth of the matter is, I make no apology to anybody in Ireland for the salary I'm paid, for the salary TDs are paid, or for the miserable pittance county councillors are paid. I make no apology at all for it. And I make no apology for asking for the 40% increase that my colleague just adverted to for county councillors. In fact, I think 40% is too little. But I want to focus in on the word allowance, Minister. Because I get an allowance here, a representational allowance, which is not my salary, which is not taxed, which is not charged PRSI or anything else. Why do we make it different for a county councillor? They're not employees. There is no contract of employment. And yet we tax and we insure and we USC the miserable few shillings they get. And what is the knock-on effect of that? Well, I'll give you the knock-on effect for one councillor who lost a job recently. Job paid something like 60,000 a year, loses the job, moves over to social welfare, and this particular councillor has been told, following an appeals process, that €4 a week, €4 a week is what she will get from the social welfare system. Why? Because she has a county councillor's salary, but it is not a salary. It is an allowance, and we need to go back and look at this. It is an allowance, it is not a salary. The issue of PRSI, Class K PRSI, I can't say too much about it because I have a High Court case still pending on Class K PRSI, and I intend to win that, and I think you'll find at the end of the day I will. So I'm not going to go into the Class K. But I am going to say this. We have been stealing, under the auspices of PRSI, 4% of the income of councillors, if we're going to call it income, and we need to sort out whether it's an allowance or an income, but we've been stealing 4% under a PRSI system from men and women over 66 years of age. There is no other citizen in this country pays PRSI beyond that. So when are we going to get a refund of that PRSI? Or better still, Minister, here's one for you now. You could score a serious goal on this, and if you ever lose your seat, you'll be straight back into the Senate. Get them their contributory old age pension from the money they paid, because they've paid the equivalent. The pension entitlement for county councillors needs to be looked at retrospectively. Anybody who paid the 4% is entitled to it. Now, Minister, I don't want to dash what you've done regarding the increase. You inherited something, you delivered on it, and you're to be complimented for that. But €1,000, come on, for God's sake, €10 a week after tax. It wouldn't put 3 gallons of petrol in the car. It is an outrage. It is an insult. So we need to go back, and I know you're going to do that, but what I want you to tell us today is the timeline for the review. I want you to tell us that. I want you to look at something else, Minister. And in fact, this applies both here in Leinster House and in every county council in the country. Facilities, and I want to talk specifically about Ireland and equality and our female members. A county councillor delivers a baby on Friday, and on Monday, she is expected. It's okay. She is expected back. She is expected back in the chamber straight away. We need to implement a system whereby elected representatives can have maternity leave, and that will require using technology to allow remote voting, to allow childcare facilities in the councils, to allow facilities for mothers who are feeding in the councils. We need to do that. The issue of travel, Minister, it is very beneficial for those who are travelling 50, 60, 70,000 kilometres a year. It's of no value whatsoever to a councillor living in a city. It's of very little value to councillors who are living close to their council. We've got to go back and look at that. We have to look at a more egalitarian way of dealing with transport. And perhaps we should look at something like a fixed transport allowance based on something similar to what we have in Leinster House here for elected representatives. Depending on how far away you are from the council, you get a fixed travel allowance, and maybe that's the way to look at it. I'm glad to hear you say today, Minister, that you are going to look at additional things on the expenses list that you have published, because the expenses list you have published exclude certain issues. They exclude rent, rates, utilities and other charges of office accommodation, electoral expenses I can accept, services purchased from a person who is on the payroll of a local authority I can accept, and expenses incurred which are covered by other allowances I can accept. But there are county councillors now all over this country who have offices where they hold their clinics. There are county councillors who are full-time all over the place. So when you're reviewing those issues, Minister, you may do us a favour and you may include utilities, you may include rent, you may include all of the other things that are associated with running an office.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
You're telling me to sit down, So, Minister, I thank you for coming here today.
I'm telling you, you're into injury time.
And I sincerely hope that we can get from you some very clear indications of where we're going regarding the reviews and regarding the modification of the expenses. We need our expenses here for councillors mapped very close to senators, so we need to break that as well. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Paddy Burke.